There you go. Good morning. I'm going to bring the mic around for better sound. Are you well? It is a Tuesday morning. It's the morning of the FIFA Women's World Cup semi-final match between the US of A, god damn it, America, against the Lionesses, which is 8 o'clock this evening, and I'm looking forward to it. There you are, a bit of foosball. Are you well? I'm modelling a t-shirt for you this morning, which was given to me by my great friend, my truly great friend, Terence Terry Howell Jr., who's well known around Salford and has been a good friend, a great friend of mine for a number of years now. And he made a t-shirt for me a couple of years ago. I've strained my side while jogging this morning. A little bit of a minor strain in my side, so I'm a bit tender. But this is my lovely t-shirt. Can you see it? Jesus Christ. Yeah? Worst live stream in the world ever. There you go. There's my t-shirt there. Thank you, Terence Tez Howell. Planning in the autumn on putting a shop on the Richie Allen website and putting one or two t-shirts and things on there, which you might be interested in, you might not be. But anyway, we'll look into it. Barry Trower was very good on the radio show last night. That interview is available on YouTube, Podomatic, and also the Truth Seeker app. I love the Truth Seeker app, and I recommend you download it to your smart whatever the bloody hell, if that's your thing. Hi to Philip Blair, hi to Mark Perry, to Andrew Taylor, to Kevin Hansen is in Oz. How you doing, Kevin? To Alex Dunn, how you doing? To Gail in Cornwall, to Alien Creation. What are the Clintons doing in Ireland? Well, hi to Julie Walters, to Ath Breeze from the once Irish city of Limerick, or Limnock, Diaguitacora. Fault you wrote. Hi to Contemplating Masturbating. What's there to contemplate, man? I'm always at myself. 40 to 50 times a day I masturbate. And I do that with a note from my doctor. I used to interview two very successful doctors in Spain. Dr. Raymond Prats, yes, Pratz, and Dr. Carlos Diawana. And Carlos was an oncologist. Yes, but a good one. One who recommended all sorts of other alternative treatments alongside chemo. You know what Carlos Diawana said to me one evening on the radio in Spain? Richie, do you want prostate cancer, son? And I said, no, please, I'd rather not. And he went, well, get at yourself, man. Masturbation and ejaculation. Masturbation, ejaculation, and you'll never get prostate cancer, he said. Since then, I've been going like the clappers. In fact, just before and just after this programme, you don't need to hear that, do you? Wait to get the video banned, Richie. Yeah. So contemplating masturbating, there's nothing to contemplate, son. Or daughter. You never know these days. Good morning to Anonymous in Western Massachusetts, to Monty Mole, Josh Ratcliffe, Albert Neville, Lawrence King. How you doing? Lawrence. To Jennifer Garcia. How you doing, Jennifer? It's never awesome, Jennifer. This is the crappiest of the crap. To Sean Mack, Diagwit Atmodjan, says Sean. Dia Ismergwit, Sean. Hi to Robert Muldoon. Why is Richie wearing lipstick? Am I? Don't think so. But thanks anyway. Lovely stuff. Hi to Graham Boo. Thank you, Graham. Not so much of the gorgeous, though. Fool, certainly. Gorgeous, I'm not sure. Remember, guys, get a whacking after the programme. Lovely jubbly. Draining the prostate, says Steve. Hi to Jamie in New Zealand. Marvellous. Peace. Dreamerable. Peace Dreamerable and Steve Bennett. There you are. All right. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Prostate cancer averted by regular masturbation. You will not go blind, children. Far from it. It's a nice way to spend a boring afternoon. Let's go straight to the front pages of the newspapers then, to the Express. By the way, Graham Booth can be seen regularly at triggerwarning.tv, the Trigger Warning YouTube channel, where he talks about current affairs too, and takes a refreshingly different perspective, or has a refreshingly different perspective than I do. Always good to broaden your horizons, children. So the Daily Express, PM rivals slug it out over no deal Brexit. It's all you'll hear about until the Tory membership has the final say on Boris or Jeremy. All right? Princess Diana's birthday would have been yesterday. The Daily Express also talks about sunscreen and sun cream. And the Lionesses are ready to roar. Because it's America. Jennifer Garcia in Florida, I love you, please forgive me. And Anonymous in Massachusetts, please forgive me. But because it's America. Because it's America! Fuck yeah! You've got to support England. For an Irishman to support England in anything, that'll tell you just how bad your country is. I enjoyed my time in America, actually. Financial Times. Parliament break-in plunges Hong Kong deeper into turmoil. You haven't the foggiest idea what's going on in Hong Kong, have you? I'll share some thoughts with you in a minute. I'll make it brief. It won't be dull. You know, the protests have been going on for weeks and weeks in Hong Kong. It is allegedly about an extradition law. But it's about more than that. I'll give you a few thoughts. I will opine in a few minutes' time. Fucking useless. Useless, I am. The Guardian. I have to say, dear viewer, I've never been lazy. But I've not delved into that story. I've not looked at it yet. Met flags up 700 welfare and abuse cases a day. So I don't know. I'll look into that later on. Hong Kong protesters break into Parliament. Are you old enough to remember Hong Kong Fooey? The Kung Fu expert dog that solved crimes? Hong Kong Fooey. If you remember it and you remember the theme tune to it, you'll never get it out of your head for the rest of the day. You're welcome. A 15-year-old girl beat Venus Williams at Wimbledon yesterday. Well done to the girl, whose name, I'm blind, I can't read. I heard her name quite a bit on the news this morning. Corey Goff, who's 15. What an amazing thing to be playing Grand Slam tennis, number one court at 15 years of age. Good for that kid. Well done to her. That's kind of going back to the future, isn't it? Because there was a time when Martina Hingis and Jennifer Capriati and players like that. Oh, Jennifer Capriati. Yeah. Jennifer was lovely. Very good Jennifer Capriati. Had a very good career. Then went on to drugs and the booze, went mad, left tennis, then came back and was successful again. Good stuff. But yeah, it used to be the thing that, especially ladies, youngsters would do amazing things 15, 14, but not for a long time. But now they're coming back. It's becoming fashionable again for teenagers. iPaper, China warns UK to stay out of Hong Kong. Talk about that in a minute. Also, young Ms. Goff. Do you know what pissed me off yesterday? Do you know what properly pissed me off? We have brought gender equality to Wimbledon by way of the umpire no longer saying Miss Williams to serve. Or game, set and match, Miss Williams. Miss Williams wins 4-6, 6-4, 7-5. We have to say Williams now because by giving them a title, Miss Williams, well, it's sexist. The men are called by their surnames. Why not the women? Maybe it was because it was a quaint, old-fashioned, nice thing to refer to the ladies by a formal title, maybe. But no. No, it's politically incorrect now to say game, set and match, Miss Azarenka. What? What? My name is Azarenka. Fuck nuts. So it's Azarenka now. And Watson and Conta, Joe Conta. Game, Miss Conta. Sack him! Sure, it's mad, isn't it? Isn't it mad? Isn't it mad, children? I know. I'm in agony here with my back. You know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to take any alternative medicine whatsoever. I'm going to go straight to the chemist and get the biggest big fucking pharma thing they have. So shut up. Daily Mail. This is some story, this. Stowaway falls from jet into garden of sunbather, mother of divine God. I think it was a guy travelling on a plane from Kenya. God love me, stowed away in the landing gear. And as the plane was on approach to Heathrow, the guy fell out of the landing gear. They think he might have been frozen to death. Let's hope he was frozen to death and that he wasn't conscious when he fell out of the landing gear. But he landed in London anyway. And he landed only a few feet away from somebody who was sunbathing, huh? Mother of God, huh? Not nice. God love him. Not the first time that's happened either, apparently. How could you not be sympathetic to that man? Hong Kong on the brink is the headline on the front page of the Metro. And Lucy Bronze, fantastic defender who plays for England. It's coming home. It's coming. Football's coming home. Lucy Bronze. There, Lucy. A very good player, Lucy. Been watching the Women's World Cup, I have. Because I'm a virtue-signalling monster. No, I'm not. I enjoy the old foosball. On the Daily Mirror, the Duchess of whatever the fuck, or wherever the fuck, has been completely and utterly brainwashed and turned into a Stepford wife and now won't have anything to do with her family. The royal family is like Scientology. Oh, she also says she wants to protect the baby and she wants to grow more positive to the... she wants to get even closer to the positive influence... Break my fingers. Positive influence, Prince Charles. Megan, let me tell you about Jimmy Savile and your father-in-law. Maybe keep baby Archie away from the plant-confiding, jug-eared one, maybe. It's just me. I don't know. That's the Mirror. What's in the Star? Jeremy Kyle jail threat. Jeremy wouldn't go and speak to the select committee who wanted to probe why people were giving unsound lie detector tests on the programme, and some of them then went on to commit harm, self-harm and suicide. Talked about that before. There's also somebody from Love Island, is it? Love Island, yeah. The Sun. Yeah, that horrible story again of that poor chap who fell out of that plane. Dreadful stuff, that. The Telegraph. Johnson plans to cut cabinet by half. Lovely. There's also a photograph of the protesters storming the parliament in Hong Kong. I think they placed in front of the speaker's chair an old colonial flag, didn't they? The old UK Hong Kong colonial flag. Could be wrong, but I think I saw that on the news. What's in the Times? Hong Kong protesters break into Parliament. And there is a wonderful picture. I love live action photography, sports photography, of the young Ms. or Miss Goff. Absolutely perplexed as she scored the winning point to beat Venus Williams, the legendary Venus Williams, multi-Grand Slam winner. And that's a great picture, that, isn't it? I can't believe it myself. Good for you, kid. Now, Hong Kong, what's going on? Do I know? Do you know? Does anybody know? They talk a lot, so they do, about a new extradition law that would make it easier for the Chinese to extradite people to Hong Kong, to the mainland. Maybe dissenters, maybe anti-Communist Party people. Look, you got to think of Hong Kong as a bit different from other Chinese cities. It was a British colony for 150 years or thereabouts. Why was it UK colony for 150 years? Well, I've got a history background, so I better be accurate now. It was ceded to Britain after the First Opium War. Yes, it was, wasn't it? And part of it was ceded to Britain after the First Opium War, and then the rest of it was leased to Britain for 99 years in 1898 or thereabouts, right? Yeah, First Opium War, that's right. So, successful trading port was Hong Kong. It was also a refuge, I suppose you could say, for dissenters and migrants and people wanting to get away from the mainland for any number of reasons. Poverty, persecution, whatever, right? That's the gist of it. And in the 1980s, the UK government then, the Thatcher government, had to meet with the Chinese government to figure out what are we going to do when the lease expires and Hong Kong returns to China in 1997. Right. So what happened? So in the mid-80s, they reached a deal that meant that Hong Kong would return to China, but not entirely. There was a principle adopted at the time called one country, two systems. You might remember this, you might not, right? Do you know any of this history? You do? I made one or two bullet points just so I didn't get it totally wrong, because I can get things totally wrong from time to time, It's not beyond me. So the one country, two systems meant that Hong Kong would have autonomy to a degree, but not in matters of foreign policy and not in matters of defence policy. And that would last for 50 years, post 1997, right? So Hong Kong has its own legal system, it has its own border, it has Hong Kong folks enjoyed the right to assemble freely, and their right to speak freely is protected under the agreement made between the UK and China. Right. But that's up for grabs now. And that's part of it. It's not just about extradition. So you could say Hong Kong vastly different than any other Chinese city. Now, according to the BBC, rights groups in Hong Kong have been accusing China of meddling in the city's affairs. Legal rulings that have basically disqualified pro-democracy folks from legislatory positions, or legislative, I should say, positions. That's right. So the protesters are saying that the Chinese government is meddling, among other things, disqualifying people who are pro-democracy from aspiring to serving in legislative positions, right? Hong Kong booksellers have disappeared, say the protesters, and people have been put in custody for no good reason. That's what they're saying. Writers in Hong Kong are saying we are under enormous pressure all the time to self-censor, and a Financial Times journalist was barred from entering Hong Kong because he hosted an event that featured even an independence activist. So they want political reform, these protesters. It's not just about, as I said, extradition. They want political reform. Hong Kong has a committee. It's not a government. It's a committee. Let me get this right for you. It's a body, right? It's an elected body. However, the committee, which is about 1,200 strong, is voted for only 6% of... have I got this right? I think it's about 6% of people in Hong Kong considered to be eligible voters. And the committee, which is 1,200 strong, is actually made up of mostly pro-China, pro-Beijing men and women, which is part of the reason why you have protests, because the protesters believe that they can't affect any change there through the ballot box, therefore they must be taken to the streets all the time. So there's a lot going on, right? Okay. That's my cliffed kind of note version of what's going on there. Right. I should have made a few paragraphs before I came on here, but I think I've given it to you straight. I don't think I've left anything out. That's really what's going on there. Not to mention the fact that most people in Hong Kong don't identify as being Chinese. They are Chinese ethnically, but they don't think they are. And there was a survey in 2017, again according to the BBC, that suggested only 3% of people aged between 18 and 30 identify as Chinese. That is what's going on there. Okay? As far as I see it anyway. Right. Okay. Little history lesson there. Where are we? There's lots going on Twitter, on the message. Hi to let's have a look. Hi to Alien Creation, to Mary Monica. How you doing, Mary? Hi to Chris Sargon. Oh, he's talking about Sargon of Akkad. Hi to Yasmin Ashraf. Hi to Megatree Rat. Hi to Graham Booth, who says, we mentioned Graham, Hong Kong was one of the most capitalist societies on earth because the UK government was too lazy to get involved. He says people had incredible freedom and China doesn't work that way. Good for them for resisting, says Graham. Yeah, up to a point. It's a little bit more complicated than that. But yeah. Is Hong Kong part of the whole China credit system, says Jennifer Garcia. The social credit system, that I don't know. That's a good question. And that's something we need to look into. Right, that's the times then. Right, let's just move on. Because there are some very interesting stories inside some of these newspapers as well. And here's one of them for you. It's in the Telegraph. Let's have a look. Could have talked about this yesterday, because this made the news yesterday as well. This woman has decided to leave Cambridge University. Indiana is her name. Indiana Stenison is her name. The headline is Cambridge University accused of racism for allowing non-black lecturer to say N-word in class. Okay? The 800-year-old institution was criticised by Indiana Saracen, who said that as a white student, she had benefited from the structural racism of the university. In a withdrawal statement that she published online, Saracen explained that she felt she had an imperative to leave Cambridge, where she had been working on a government-funded doctorate about contemporary American artists and writers. So she just pissed away the taxpayer contribution to the government-funded placement. She said she witnessed an accumulation of racist incidents during her time at Cambridge. She described an incident where a lecturer repeatedly even, read it aloud during our class discussion. Indiana Saracen, there she is. It's lovely. What's going on? What is going on? Yeah. She said a black friend had emailed the lecturer to explain that the black friend didn't feel comfortable hearing non-black lecturers saying this word aloud, even though the non-black lecturer was reading it from a book in a class discussing racism. So the white Indiana Saracen said, we can't have that, and melted down. What I love about the Telegraph story is it says that the black friend and Ms. Saracen didn't get an apology from the faculty. They said we were patronisingly told that we did not understand the context in which the word was being used. Yeah, context is really important, isn't it? If I'm reporting on a news story, if I'm back in commercial radio where I spent many years, and if I'm telling a story about a man screaming abuse at another man, isn't it patently ridiculous that I use the N-word? Richie Allen freaking out last night after the pub, after a long row about politics, shouted the N-word at his friend Mwinga, his only black friend. Isn't it just ridiculous? The word is nigger. That's the word. It's a nasty word. It's a shitty word for anybody to be calling anybody else. There's no excuse for calling somebody that. You lose the argument if you say that to somebody. You become a moron instantly if you weren't already. But why say the N-word? Isn't it pathetic? Why are we frightened of a collection of letters put together in sequence to form a word? The word is nigger. It's a nasty word. And it's an important word in history, I would have said. And the notion that you could demand an apology from a lecturer because he used it in context reading from a text is patently ridiculous, and it's beneath us as grown-up, adult, intellectual human beings. And this fucking fruitcake, Ms. Saracen, I'm leaving the university because I didn't get my way. I melted down and screamed like a fucking baby and demanded that I get my nappy changed. And the lecturer said, no, hang on a second, we won't be changing that particular nappy. This is a place of free speech and free thought where everything is on the table. So no, learn to live with debate, robust debate. Learn to live with your feelings being hurt. And grow up. She went on, this Saracen moron, to say, well, the lack of black lecturers and postdoctoral researchers have left me pessimistic about decolonizing the curriculum. So I have to leave and piss away the hard-earned taxpayers' money used to give me this opportunity at Cambridge. And then this wretched little bastard, Ms. Saracen, said that, yes, my decision to leave midway through my PhD comes from a position of racial privilege. Yeah. What do you do with these people? What do you do with these people? Please God, if there is a God in heaven, make it that the teaching body, the teaching committee, the teaching roster at these universities, make it so that they never give way, that they never waver in this fight against these progressive lunatics. Give them strength, O Lord, to constantly tell these people to fuck the fuck off back to the fuck wherever you fucking came from with your stupid fucking ideas. Go away. The word is nigger. By saying that fucking awful word, it does not make me a racist. And yet I know that people will say, oh, the way Richie casually drops in the N-word. It is a word. The N-word is not a word. The N-word is patently fucking ridiculous. Let's talk about the word and the historic context of it. Anyway, that upsets me, you know. I hate these people. Hatred is a very negative emotion. And it is a debilitating emotion, and it is an emotion that can lead to illness. So when I say hatred, I don't really mean it. I explode with anger for about 30 seconds, and then I find something else to do. But I am mad as hell at these stories and these people. And I fear, my biggest fear is that which I just prayed for. My biggest fear is that eventually the academic institutions of this country and elsewhere, they will collapse. They will collapse. Massive story of huge importance today. It's in the Mail and the Telegraph. MPs have been warned that bosses of tech companies could face being jailed under chilling proposals aimed at clamping down on web giants. What's this all about? Online harms. What's this all about? Look at it there, and I'll tell you what it's all about, right? It's all about the fact that the government, as covered extensively on the Richie Allen radio show, published an online harms white paper and then launched a consultation on the contents within. We said the online harms white paper was a way, basically, to bring in draconian censorship previously unimagined on social media and force social media companies under the threat of massive fines or the threat of closing them down, force them to censor, to block and to ban that which the regulator and the government has declared to be harmful to you and me. So the government published this paper, the Online Harms White Paper, and then it had a consultation, and the consultation ended yesterday. Who did it consult with? Well, it consulted with what they call stakeholders, children's charities, election watchdogs, healthcare providers, the media. Everybody got a say except me and you. Right? How to protect us from online harm. Scary shit this, right? And it's everywhere this morning. Well, it's not everywhere this morning. This is the problem. It's in the Telegraph, it's in the Mail, but it hasn't been discussed broadly on a television media this morning which is obsessed with the Conservative Party leadership race. Okay. In the Telegraph, social media abuse victims must have legal right to sue tech giants. Charities say. Duty of care. Okay? I told you I couldn't organise it. So, a Telegraph 2. Here you go, same story. Various charities, as I said, submitting recommendations to the government. They want social media firms to be hammered in the pocket. If you or me or children or anybody is a victim of online abuse. What could go wrong? Right? What could possibly go wrong? I'll tell you what could go wrong. What is harm anyway? We'll come back to that. In the online harms white paper, which I got into in great depth when it came out, the key proposals are the Clift Notes again. We love the Clift Notes, even though we don't have them. I don't think we have them in England, do we? I know we didn't have them in Ireland. The Clift Notes, the key proposal is to introduce a statutory duty of care, a statutory duty of care on tech companies to protect me and you from harm while using their platforms, right? Who would enforce that? A brand new regulator, maybe. And the regulator would then have the power to fine the bejesus out of them. And maybe even ultimately ban them or close them down. So MPs yesterday said, yeah, we love this, but we want our own statutory veto over whoever heads up the new super regulator for online firms. So MP said, right, if you get an online regulator for the internet, for social media firms, we want to have a veto over that, says MPs. See how dangerous that is? Right. And Damien Collins heads up this Digital Culture, Media and Sports Select Committee. It wants the power to block appointments of regulators and people maybe appointed to work at the regulator. So MPs are saying, well, we want to decide ultimately who can and can't work at the new regulator. Lovely. So you'd have a statutory duty of care requiring Facebook, Instagram and Twitter to take reasonable steps to keep me and you safe online and also to prevent others coming to any harm as a direct consequence of activity on their services. right? Who would be the new regulator? Yet to be decided, the white paper suggests two options: setting up a dedicated new regulator from scratch, or extending the responsibilities of an existing regulator like Ofcom, maybe. It's all about online harm. Harm. When you're using Google, harm. When you're using Facebook, harm. When you're using Twitter, you could be harmed by something you see. The concept of harm is a nebulous one, isn't it? What does nebulous mean, Richie? It means hazy, vague, poorly defined. What is harm? Well, harm is whatever they fucking well say it is. They make it up as they go along. Last week, harm was reading online that vaccines might cause injuries. That's harm. Or it could be, because it might prevent you from going with your baby to get a vaccine. Therefore, you were harmed by reading the Facebook post that said that vaccines were potentially harmful. So by not going and getting your baby's vaccine, you were potentially harmed. It's lunacy. So what they want to do is give a regulator the power to decide what is and what isn't harmful. A regulator. Imagine it. A regulator would get the overarching power to say this is harmful, this isn't. And decide what you can and what you can't see. Worse again, they could unilaterally ban something like, as I said, discussion around vaccines. It's been settled. All vaccines are safe. Not true, of course. Not all vaccines are safe. Doesn't matter. It's been settled. Climate change, been settled. It's been settled. It's been settled. We are going to die in 50 years unless we reduce the mean temperature of planet Earth, unless we prevent the 1.5 degrees Celsius rise. We're all going to die. So, it's been settled. It is harmful if somebody reads on Twitter that climate change is a hoax. That's harmful. It's got to deal with that. So we can ban that. That's what the regulator will do. So does this have consequences for freedom of speech? You bet your arse it does. The Internet Association has responded to this. Fair play to the Internet Association. Are you a member? They didn't ask me, did I want to be a member? But the Internet Association says, and I quote, "The current proposal risks allowing a regulator to limit access to legitimate information in an opaque and arbitrary manner, in effect banning speech without openly declaring it to be unlawful." That's right. They can ban something by saying it's harmful, but not having to prove that it's unlawful, because it isn't unlawful. Not yet anyway, to declare that you believe that the HPV Gardasil vaccine, for example, is harming young women around the world, because it is. Hasn't been banned yet by law, but the regulator can say, well, that shouldn't be seen on the internet. So there you go. That's where we're going, my dear friend. Isn't it mad? So that's the online harms consultation, which came to an end yesterday. I know, it's bad. It's bad stuff. A lot of virtue signalling going on around the Women's World Cup. This one made me sick. I think this guy writes for The Guardian regularly. His name is Sam Haddad. And Sam is the last person I would want to be my dad. Sam Haddad. Couldn't believe this morning. I'm sure there are more comments. I'll have a look in a minute. This is going way over the 30 minutes I allocate for it every day. Boys love these lionesses too. A football revolution is coming. My sons are just as thrilled. England are in a World Cup semi-final. That enthusiasm means a threshold has been crossed, says Sam, virtue signalling to the world that he's a good man, that he's not sexist, and that his sons are being brought up the right way. Last Friday morning he woke up to his sons, or one of them screaming, "Did you see the Lucy Bronze goal, Dad?" And I thought, what's going on there? Why did they wake him up on Friday morning to talk about a goal, a 25-yard screamer by Lucy Bronze? Why were they waking him up on Friday morning? They were reenacting her free kick, her shot. It wasn't a free kick, it was a 20-yard screamer, wasn't it? Into the roof of the net. So he's virtue signaling about the boys watching the Women's World Cup with him. But what's going on? Why were they running into his bedroom on a Friday morning? Because this guy lets them watch the first half of the match live, then sends them off to bed and lets them watch the rest of it in the morning. They'd follow their usual protocol for evening kickoffs on school nights, inaugurated with England's men in the World Cup last summer and honed with Liverpool in the Champions League final this season. They watched the first half with my husband and me before bed. Sam is not a dad, Sam is a woman. I see, I get it. When I saw Sam Haddad, I assumed, making an ass out of you and me, that Sam was a man. Yes, of course, Sam is short for Samantha. Right, so Sam is a woman and not a dad. So maybe she's not virtue signaling. But anyway, they send the kids to bed after watching the first half of the match and then let them watch the second half the following morning. And they did that to the kids last summer when England reached the semi-final of the World Cup, losing in the semis to Croatia. That's tantamount to child abuse, isn't it? Now, I know all about child abuse. As a child who, it's well known, was extremely badly physically abused. But I was allowed to stay up for the games. Yeah, all manner of unspeakable things were done to me when I was a boy, physically. Not sexually, thankfully, but physically. But they never sent me to bed at half time during the World Cup in 1990. Or in the European Championships in 1988, when Ireland beat England 1-0. When Ray Houghton got the ball and stuck it in the English net. What sort of parents do that? Oh, Jesus. I'm going to virtue signal about my sons growing up to be lovely, rounded young men who watch women's football, but then I'm going to announce to the world that I fucked them up the stairs at half time. Sam, dear lady, when one of your boys climbs up on London Bridge in 2026 with an assault rifle and starts shooting innocent bystanders, it's your fault. How could you do that to the kids? Wow. It must be torture for the lads. Mustn't it? I'm going to labour this point. That's just crap, that, isn't it? I mean, wow, Sam. What does Mr. Haddad, if you're using your married name, what does he have to say about this outrage? Dreadful stuff, huh? Would you do that to your child? Let him watch the first half and then send him to bed, would you? Would you? I'm going to love you and leave you now. Vicky Haig, extraordinary woman. It's going to be on the Richie Allen show tonight after 2 years. It's been a huge update in Vicky's personal story. You don't want to miss that. Hi to John and Sarah Stott, to Gaza Jones, to David Yates, to Liz McFall, Sutty's Rehab, and everybody else I missed. I'm going to go. Going to go now and do some work and some prep for today's programme. Thank you, Tez. You gave me that 2 years ago, Tez. Yeah, I've nothing else to say to you now other than have a good Tuesday. I'll be with you at 5 as usual on the usual channels. Jesus, I am tired this morning. richieallen.co.uk, triggerwarning.tv, TuneIn Radio and all the rest of the places. Goodbye from me. I'll see you later. Bye now. See you later.